why do you think that you should just be able to just take out money, spend it, and then not pay it back?
If you just sit here and think, well, I can just ignore it, like no problem is ever going to go away if you just ignore it.
You have to want a little bit more for your life. And I think getting there by scamming the system and not paying your credit card debt off is probably not the way you're going to get there.
If you can strive and fight through getting out of debt by budgeting diligently and finding ways to increase your income and lower your expenses, like you're going to be a stronger person on the other end who can do all these amazing things because they have a handle on their finances. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Lauren and I are back for our weekly episode where we talk all things money, from getting out of debt, budgeting, investing, and all the other wild things going on in the world of finance. Now, Lauren, quick story for you. It was a small win, but it felt like a big win today. So we got an email from our auto insurance carrier, and it was time for us to renew our policy, and they were going to increase our cost 11%, which, you know, it was going from $773 up to $858. So it's like $85 more over the course of 6 months, because we do like the 6-month thing for 2 vehicles, full coverage and everything. I was like, it's not a crazy increase in cost, but I was still like, you know, we don't have any crashes on our history, like clean report. Right. There's no claims or anything. Like, I feel like we don't even drive a whole lot. So I was like, what the heck? Like, why are you increasing it? So I decided to call in and I spoke to their, what was it called? Customer retention department. And I was like, is there anything you can do for us? Cause I'm going to just switch carriers. Like, find someone who is, you know, just to keep our costs down. And so he asked a bunch of questions like, what do you do for work? Like, what's your highest level of education? How much do you drive? What are your driving habits? And he was actually able to get us down to $779. So instead of $85 more for 6 months, it was only going to be $6 more. Now, I'm sure the next time we go to renew, it'll jump up even more. But I don't know. It just felt like a good win, you know?
Yeah. Why do you think that they asked you all those questions? Why does that stuff matter? What you do for work? Just like
I think they were determining your level of risk. And I think there's a whole, like, you know, system that they use. And I imagine, like, to me, the big one was like, what's your level of education? I feel like they could correlate that to like safer driving habits. So I don't know, maybe that was it, but I was super stoked to only pay $6 more for 6 months.
Yeah, that's crazy. When we moved from Pittsburgh to Chicago, we had to get obviously new insurance. We had State Farm in Pittsburgh and we moved it to State Farm in Illinois, but you have to like switch like providers, like whoever like the person is who has like the local State Farm office or whatever, you have to switch, especially with the state lines. And when we were in Pittsburgh, we literally paid for 2 cars, full coverage, you know, whatever, $100 per month is what we were paying. Like, I think it was literally like 90 something. Cause I think, remember it went down really far in the pandemic and then like ours just stayed there for a long time and then it, you know, creeped up to like 90 something, but like that is still so cheap. I remember I posted that one time on Instagram and somebody was like, it is not that cheap. And I'm like, I will show you my bill. It comes auto draft on my account every single month. But when we moved to Chicago, it jumped up to like 150 a month. I just pay my monthly. And I just had a call with ours last week too, to kind of go over some things. And we pulled in some like different discounts and stuff. So it's going to go down to 125 a month. So I don't know what that breaks down to for the 6 months, but yeah, insurance is so crazy. And I don't think my husband he totaled his car in 2022 and got like a new one. So, but I don't know if I've ever made a claim on my car insurance before.
All right, so why don't we move on? So we're going to do things a little differently today. We're going to go through a ton of crazy money stories that we could find online. But before we get into that, Lauren, I have this video that I wanted to show you and get your opinion on. So let me play it for you.
What's the worst finfluencer advice you've seen?
Saying that people needed to build up their savings before they were paying off their credit card debt. Financially, that's a huge mistake. Whatever the savings you have, pay off the credit card debt. Even if that means you're zeroed out, you know, because the credit card debt costs you so much and the savings account is not earning you anything. And so you're just transferring value, which I thought was just numerically incorrect advice.
Yeah. Lauren, what do you think about that?
I mean, I get what she's saying because credit card interest is just so terrible that you're like, why are you taking time to like put money aside in a savings account when it's making nothing and you're just like literally losing so much on interest? However, it's like you're kind of missing that whole like risk piece. So if you have another emergency that pops up, like if you have nothing in savings, you're obviously going to go further into debt than you already are, right? I don't have a problem with you just saving a little bit. So during my debt-free journey,
Mm,
I think I say, well, I was renting at the time too. So I think this changes if you have kids, if you own a home and things like that, but my emergency fund
sure.
was at $1,000. And I just said anything after that, is going towards my debt, and then I'm just going to, I'm not saving anymore for my emergency fund. I'm just going to keep going on my debt-free journey. So I get what she's saying. Do we want you to save $20,000 before you're touching your credit cards? I don't think so, but like I guess it depends on each individual person.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I get what she's saying, and from purely mathematical, yeah, absolutely. If you have money in savings, you're only gaining, even if it's in a high yield savings account, maybe 3 or 4%. Credit cards are probably 20, 25, 30%. So it just makes sense to put all that savings into there.
Yeah.
But I agree, like if you have zero savings and an emergency comes up and you're on a debt-free journey that's going to take you 2 years, like the chances of no emergencies coming up,
Yeah.
probably zero, right? Something is going to come up over those 2 years. Now, if you have $0 saved, you're just going to have to throw it on the credit card. And to me, it's less about, you have to go back into debt, which that does suck. But the worst part, I think, is on like the motivation and the momentum side, because
Yeah.
that sets you back way further than just the dollar amount. Like you have to now build up that motivation again, build up that momentum from taking that hit. Whereas if you just had a little bit of money set to the side, you could have absorbed that emergency and then you'd be good to go.
Yeah, and I think that I feel like we're on like total ends of the spectrum here. She's like, you don't need to save anything, or you're saving too much. It's like, why can't we just like end in the middle somewhere and just save a little
Yeah.
bit, to hold ourselves over if something were to happen, if it's going to happen, right? We know that. I don't like I said, I don't mind if you just have a little bit in savings. If you're being diligent enough to put a little bit in savings while you're paying off your debts, that's fine. Again, if you own a home, if you have kids, like maybe you want to boost that up a little bit. Again, I don't think you need like $20,000, $30,000 in there
Yeah.
while you're paying off credit cards, but something, a buffer of some kind, so that you're not completely dismantled from your entire process. Yeah, I agree with you there. Now, shifting gears here, I actually was watching a TikTok, and I don't think we're friends on. Do you have TikTok, Nick?
I don't. I
Okay.
haven't opened the app in years.
Okay. So I did. So I couldn't send this to you. But anyway, I was watching a TikTok today. Well, actually, I think it was like yesterday, and it was talking about people. This lady was like, "Talk me out of emptying out my 401k for a home or something." And so immediately I went to the comments, and you wouldn't believe the people that were like, "We're not promised tomorrow, so empty it out," And then other people are like, just take it out as a loan, and then you can pay it, you'll be paying yourself back, and you don't get all the penalties and stuff like that. But it was like resounding, like, yes, you should probably do that and get yourself a home, as an investment, like it was kind of crazy. Like I didn't say anything, but it was kind of a wild conversation. What do you think about that? Like taking money out of your 401k to buy a house?
It's absolutely crazy. It's like if you want to buy a home, if you're gonna buy a home, it should, yes, you have to want to do it, but you also have to be able to do it, like financially. Like I think everyone should strive to own a home at some point in their life. I think it's good for your long-term wealth building and to kind of stabilize your finances, because that's one of the biggest costs inside of most people's budget. With that said, making a bad financial move to make a good financial move, like those two can kind of cancel each other out.
Yeah.
And on the one hand, if you looked at how much that 401k balance would grow over the course of the next 30 years, it's probably a worse mistake than you think. I don't think that's a good idea at all. Now, if you were going to say, I'm going to do it, should I withdraw the money or take out the loan? I'd be like, all right, well, if you're going to do it anyway, I think do the loan, because at least you're just paying yourself back. But yeah, I think you should take the time to get your finances in order, build up the savings, because what are you going to do next when an emergency repair comes up? And then what are you going to borrow from your 401k again, or take out even more? Like to me, it's just, you're setting yourself up for failure down the road.
Yeah, that's like immediately what I was thinking. Like if you're using this 401k to like, for your home, it just feels like that's almost like a crutch. Like anything that you need,
Yeah.
you're just going to start dipping into that. And yeah, I understand you could die tomorrow. That's absolutely right. You could also live till you're 95. You know what I mean? Like we don't know what the future looks like, but I don't think just banking on like a YOLO approach is the best idea. Take some time. Maybe don't make these big decisions off of a TikTok response, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It seemed a little too much for me. Like I was like, I don't know. This doesn't seem like a good idea. But again, I don't know. I'm not out there making decisions that everyone else is, but for me, I'm not going to like take from my future for like right now. You know what I mean? Because you're gonna regret that someday, I would assume.
Yeah, and I always hate the justification of I may die tomorrow. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you might, and then what you did today won't have mattered either way, so you
Yes.
might as well set yourself up for success. You might as well as plan that you're gonna be alive because chances are you will. And so
Yeah.
you want to, you don't want to be one of those people who made poor decisions earlier on and got to retirement and now they're screwed. Now they're like, who's gonna help take care of me? It's like you should have been setting yourself up to take care of yourself. But yeah, I just not a good idea. But too many people I think have that kind of mindset.
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
So why don't we move into this next one? So this is a Reddit post, similar thread, I guess, in terms of bad financial decisions. So this person wrote, "I don't care about my credit score. Can I just not pay it? I owe about $25,000 in credit card debt, mainly due to losing my job during COVID. 5 years later, and I haven't financially recovered. I never want to buy a house. I don't have kids, and my current income barely covers my living expenses. What happens if I just never pay off my debt? What's the worst that can really happen? Will I go to jail, or will I just live with a bad credit score and won't be able to finance things? Honestly, it seems like a good deal to just ignore it and finally be able to breathe." Now, I thought the interesting part is that there was two replies that really stood out to me. The first person was like, "I know someone who basically waited out $150,000 of credit card debt. He essentially hid in his parents' basement for 5 years. He's doing well now, owns a house, has kids, but visiting him during those 5 years was depressing AF." But then the next person responded to them saying, "I had a similar amount of debt by the time I was 22, and my plan was also to wait it out. About 6 months after getting a new job and a new place to live, I had process servers dropping off lawsuits at my door, and the resulting wage garnishment took nearly all of my income. I ended up filing for bankruptcy." So I don't know, you can kind of see both ends of the spectrum of is this a good idea or not?
Yeah, and I feel like it's going to be different for every single person because it's probably going to depend on what type of like debt this is and like, who you owe. I don't know. For me, it's just like I can't stand people that like don't take responsibility for their actions or the accountability to like actually clean it up. Like,
Yeah.
why do you think that you should just be able to just take out money, spend it, and then not pay it back? I don't know. There's something wrong there morally for me. Like that just like messes with my moral compass. I couldn't sleep at night knowing that, and you're probably not going to sleep at night either because, like that person said, there's going to be people knocking on your door looking for their
Yeah.
money. And if they're not knocking on the door, they're calling you, they're emailing you, they are calling your mother. You know what I mean? Like they are going to try to get through to you. So I don't know. This is not a good approach to this.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it probably is going to depend on the type of debt, and then more importantly, probably the amount as well.
Yeah.
Like the other person who said $150,000, I'm like, that's an insane amount to think you can just get away with it.
Yeah.
$25,000, I would still say is a pretty fair amount. Where why wouldn't they just try to garnish your wages? Like if a debt collector buys that debt and then they pursue you legally, like they're probably still going to come out ahead. It just, to me, yeah, like you said, the morally, I think it's wrong, but like just the level of entitlement that someone has to think that like, hey, I'm gonna just do this. It's like you put yourself in this situation. Now you gotta like work. You gotta what is that? Pedal to the metal. Like you gotta just work to pay this off, and then put yourself ahead. 5 years down the road, right? Like, but if you just sit here and think, well, I can just ignore it. Like, no problem is ever gonna go away if you just ignore it.
Yeah. And that situation, the one reply that said that they had 150,000 of credit card debt and they just like lived in their parents' basement for 5 years. I feel like this also is going to affect you much longer than 5 years. So you
Yeah.
might like, the person's maybe is doing well now, but they didn't own a house 5 years after that's all done. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Their credit score is probably, what's the lowest credit score you can get? Like, I don't know. Definitely in like what, the 500s or something.
Yeah.
I don't know how low it can actually go, but it has to be pretty low at that point. And then it's like, great, you're saying this all now. I never want to buy a house. I don't want to have kids, but like your life changes. Like I'm drastically different than who I was 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
stop living like, I don't care that I'm wrecking my entire financial, history for the entire rest of my life. Like you're probably not that old. So I don't know. I think we need to stop thinking like that and just like, maybe just do the right thing. And maybe someday your life will change.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That I never want to buy a house and I don't want to have kids. Like, what if you like meet the person of your dreams and all of a sudden they find out that you have this kind of history with your finances and they're like, well, I just can't I just can't do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't sit right with me. And then also, what other decisions are you willing to make under the assumption, well, if I don't get caught, then it's really not that bad. Like that tells people something about what you're willing to do if the consequences aren't, right in front of you, I guess.
Yeah, and they also said like my current income barely covers my living expenses. Like, okay, great, but like, do you not want something like more for your life? I don't know. They just seem like I never want to buy a house. I don't have kids. My expenses barely cover, whatever. It's like, I don't know. You have to want a little bit more for your life, and I think getting there by scamming the system and not paying your credit card debt
Yeah.
off is probably not the way you're going to get there.
Yeah, and if you want something better for your life, like if you want to increase your income and be able to afford nice things or whatever, going through this process of how do I increase my income a little bit so I can start paying off debt? And then how can I be really diligent with my budgeting? And then how can I, push that forward into my saving and then my investing? Like that's how you're going to get there. I think a lot of people look at debt and like, oh, what's the quickest way to get out of it? And yeah, I do think you should try to get out of debt, especially credit card debt, as quickly as possible. But like straight through it is often going to be better for your long-term success than trying to find your way around it. Like if you can strive and fight through getting out of debt by budgeting diligently and finding ways to increase your income and lower your expenses, like you're going to be a stronger person on the other end who can do all these amazing things because they have a handle on their finances.
Yeah, and of course this sucks. Like paying off credit card debt, paying off any debt is not fun. Like it's not.
Yeah.
No one likes to pay off debt, right? It's not the best thing to be doing with your money. But you also so it's going to take time, right? Like that's the suckiest part about it is it's going to take some time and it takes effort and discipline. But you also didn't get into $25,000 of credit card debt overnight. So like, you know what I mean? You're going to have to work a little bit here and have some patience with the process, So I don't know, this person's just being super unrealistic and not my type of person because I would tell them exactly what to do. It would be to, hold yourself accountable, take responsibility for your actions and pay this off.
I guess in another life, could I get into $25,000 of debt overnight? I probably could. Like that, that'd be a good night. But
Right.
why don't we move into the next one? So similar, but I think this person's kind of on the other end of the spectrum. So this person wrote, I'm freaking out and this stress is giving me a heart attack. Over the last couple months, I've gone through a very bad online gambling addiction. Around my birthday, I hit a $5,000 jackpot. That's where all the trouble started, and I've been chasing it ever since. I was spending all my extra money and finally turned to credit cards to keep it going. I'd win some, pay it back, then lose even more over and over again. My credit cards are maxed out and I'm nearly $20,000 in debt. I honestly just don't make enough to make any serious dent on them and have realized that this is going to take me the next 10 years to pay it off. I'm embarrassed, guilt-ridden, and stressed the hell out for acting like an absolute idiot at 35 years old. I have a very addictive personality when it comes to things like this. Before it was alcohol and now it's gambling. What can I possibly do?
Oh gosh. Well, it's funny because whenever I heard the 5K jackpot, I was like, is this my husband? since he won that a few months ago. I get this. The first thing you're gonna have to do is stop what you're doing, obviously. You know what I mean? Like that's going to be the first thing. But I also feel like they're going into a little of like kind of like pity party and whatever. This is going to take me the next 10 years to pay off. No, it's not. If you like actually, buckle down, stop gambling and trying to make a buck off of that, and go hard at your debt, you're going to pay it off quicker than 10 years. You know what I mean? But yeah, again, it sucks like the last situation to get yourself into that and know it's your fault. But at least this person knows that they've got a lot to pay off, I guess. That's a positive.
Yeah, and I feel like what you said, people don't recognize enough. It's like, all right, maybe right now the timeline says 10 years, but okay, you can either look at that and be like, man, my life sucks. Like you said, pity party. I just don't know what to do about this. What can I possibly do? Or you can look at that and say, how can I speed this up? Like, what is something that I can do today that's going to make this 9 years and 10 months? And then how can I make it 9 years and 6 months? How can I chop that off a little bit? And whether that's finding ways to increase your income, which if this is the case, this person probably has an income problem that's going to affect the other areas in their life, like building up savings or investing and things like that. Yeah. But also like, how can I get my expenses down? Like, is there just miscellaneous like gig work that I can do? Or are there things around the house that I can sell? Little things like that. But if you're seeing 10 years now, then you're either going to continue to see those 10 years until you're at the end of it, or you're going to find a way to make it go faster. So like you're kind of you're stuck there and it's up to you which route you want to pick.
100%. And also, you're not going to be gambling anymore. So you're going to have some time where you can start a side hustle, get a part-time job, something like that, and you're going to turn your life around. So I don't know. Yeah, it's hard not to feel like you're at like the bottom, rock bottom or whatever, because this sucks. You feel like you're having a gambling addiction now. It's hard to stop. You chase the wins, and then you hit a bunch of losses, and then you just feel like completely just like depleted. But there's gonna be some sun at the end of this, whatever. But I just feel like, I don't know. It's just gonna take a little bit of time to see, but you actually have to like maybe get some help for your addiction. You said you have an addictive personality. You can't just continue to online gamble and think that something's gonna change. Like that's gonna have to change. So whether that means you start going to therapy or whatever, but you need to do something other than continuing to gamble, right?
Yeah, and this person said before it was alcohol, now it's this.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people think, when they're trying to find a way to cure their addiction, they think they've done it when they move from one addiction to the next one, because now that old addiction isn't there anymore. But you have to recognize you have an addictive personality.
Yeah.
And so if it's not gambling, what is it going to be next? You know, so I think that's something this person has to be really cautious for. If they went from alcohol to gambling, is it going to be drugs next? Is it going to be, whatever it's going to be? But yeah, the online gambling addiction, like I want to say I read somewhere that online sports betting is like the fastest growing form of gambling.
Yeah.
And I imagine one of the fastest growing addictions as well, paired with that. And like I watch a lot of basketball, and right now it's playoff season, and it blows my mind how many celebrities and like even like NBA stars, like they'll come out in a commercial promoting like DraftKings or whatever those sports betting books are. And I'm like, it's just such a I don't know, like you can definitely do it, like, and it be no harm, but at the same time, like so many people ruin their lives through it that it's hard for it to be something that you actively promote, especially knowing how big it is of an industry it is. And look, I'll say I've been to Vegas a handful of times. I love playing 21 or I love playing Texas Hold'em and all that, but like that's different than being like, hey, I'm going to actively promote this thing that I know people can have an addiction to.
Yeah. I honestly, like, I don't know if I have an addictive personality like this, but you're right. This person is just going to go on to the next thing, whatever that looks like for them. So I don't know. Start where you're at right now, but I think this person needs some therapy before anything else. Like, honestly, like, because you're right. You're just going to move on to the next thing, whether that's drugs or whatever. I feel like some people get into the gym, and then that you can sort of tell. Like people go to the gym and then it's always like you can't do something in like moderation or just like to enjoy it. You have to like take it to the next level. You know what I mean? Whether you go into a bodybuilding show or something like that. So I don't know. I mean, the gym would be better than obviously online addiction, or online gambling addiction, but I don't know.
I feel like I'm 100% the same way. Like when I get into something, I want to fully get into it. I hate being like halfway in, and I'm sure that could lead down the road of like negative things as well. But like, if this person finds that they can get addicted to something, cool, get addicted to figuring out how do I get this debt number to go down? Like I want to see that number get as low as possible, or my timeline get as short as possible. But yeah, the pity party, that part I think is something that really you got to fix first if you want to actually get out of this. Like you can't just sit here and like wallow in your own depression and be like, I'm never going to get out of here, because you never will then. Like you have to be able to say, all right, I fucked up. What am I going to do about it next?
Yeah. So it seems like the theme so far is like accountability, holding yourself responsible. Like, I don't know.
All right, taking a quick break from today's episode, Lauren and I have some exciting news we'd like to share with you. If you're feeling stuck with your finances and don't know where to start, we have you covered with our one-on-one financial coaching.
These are no strings attached coaching sessions that you can sign up for today. No ongoing commitment. You simply book a session whenever you need one.
Each call is 90 minutes, and by the end of it, you'll have a clear budget to work with and a solid plan to start paying off your debt. Plus, we'll make sure you walk away with some awesome tools to keep you on track, including our budget dashboard and expense tracker, as well as our debt payoff optimizer.
And the best part, you'll get to work with both of us on the call. Together, we'll help you develop the best possible strategy forward, answer your questions, and make sure you feel confident about managing your money.
So if you're ready to get a handle on your budget and kickstart your financial journey forward, check out the link in the show notes to book your first session.
We can't wait to get started with you. Now, back to the episode.
And it's funny you say that, because this next one is almost the flip side of that. Like you did everything right, and now some uncontrollable force is not being held accountable. So this person wrote, I finally paid off $23,000 of credit card debt, but then my bank screwed me. About a month ago, I made a large payment of about $23,000 to pay off my balance in full, but when the payment posted, they only credited me for $23. I immediately reached out to get this resolved, but since then, it's been months of back and forth with no solution. I provided everything they asked for, including confirmation that the funds were withdrawn from my other bank account. Today, they messaged me saying they couldn't verify the payment and reversed the temporary credit they had applied during the investigation. My other bank has confirmed multiple times that the full amount was sent, but nothing seems to help. I filed a formal complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, but I'm scared that I'll never see that money again. All I've gotten is the runaround, and no one is taking accountability.
That is crazy.
Crazy, right?
Because like the two institutions should be able to like communicate with each other and figure this out. Like I've never heard of something like this happening before. That is scary. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a wild situation.
It's just like soul crushing, because if you saved up $23,000 and you made a lump sum payment, you feel amazing, and then now you, for months, you're just stuck in this like this limbo of like, where's my money? Like, can I at least get it back, even if you're not going to post it? Like, I don't know. And the worst case is pretty terrible in this situation where you're out $23,000.
Yeah, that's really bad. And I don't understand how this isn't being resolved. Like, if the bank is giving that information that this was the money we had, why is it coming over to the pay, like to whoever they're paying the 23,000? Why is it coming over as $23? Like, that's insane. And whoever that company is, I'm done with them. I don't know what that is, but you know, whatever, what type of loan or credit card that was, but I'm done with them.
Yeah, something shady seems like it's going on, but it seems like it was one bank and then they did like an ACH transfer, and then maybe in like the clearinghouse something got miscommunication or something got lost there. But like if you're able to see on the other bank's end that we did receive money, but now we're only seeing it as $23, like how does that even happen? But I guess like the like, what does this person do from here? You know, like $23,000 is no joke to save up and then pay off your debt with. Yeah. What do you even do from here?
I don't know if there's like a type of lawyer you could get, but obviously if it's an amount this big, obviously if it's like $500, like I'm just going to try to keep fighting it and move on with my life. $23,000 is kind of like, you know, life changing a little bit. Like that would take a long time for a normal person to like pay off, to like save up and pay off. So I'm probably going to try to get some type of legal counsel to represent me in this. I know they said they filed a formal complaint with like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau or whatever, but I'm going to try to, I mean, there's got to be a lawyer that covers this kind of stuff, like financial, I don't know if it's like financial fraud or something, but I feel like someone has to get involved with this.
Yeah, this definitely feels like fraud. And who knows, maybe this is a silver lining where like they sue them and then they win like $1 million. And now they're like, all right, cool. I'm glad I lost my 23,000. But it's soul crushing, you know, like, especially like you said, like $23,000 is on that border of like, it could be life-changing money. And I feel like what makes it life-changing in this case is this is someone who's saving up this money to pay off their debt. You know, as opposed to someone who may be a little further ahead in their financial journey and they saved up $23,000 to put on a down payment or something. You know, it's like that amount of money maybe isn't going to crush them, but if this person is using that to get out of debt and like act as a springboard to push themselves further down the road, like now they're just set back years, I imagine. And it's, I don't even know what you do at this point other than continue to fight it.
Yeah, you're going to have to continue to fight it. And obviously, if it is a bank account that they're trying to, if it's a bank that really did screw them over, obviously I'm done with them. I would never have an account with them again, and I would sue them for doing this. Yeah. That is literally insane.
And I wonder if they still owe minimum payments on that debt. That would just be icing on the shit cake for sure.
$23 instead of $23,000. That's, I don't get it.
There's clearly a mistake there, right? Like, it's not like they sent over some random amount and, you know, it's like, no, there was a few zeros there that you're missing.
Yeah. I don't get it.
Okay. Well, continuing the theme of financial fraud or scamming, this next person wrote, my wife and I got married in 2022, but the wedding venue called us this week to say we still owe $10,000. It's been nearly 3 years since we've had contact with anyone from this venue. We paid for the venue using a cashier's check and confirmed on their web portal that we paid in full. Yet the representative says that the check was never cashed and now they're asking us to pay again. It's my understanding that venues won't even let you have the wedding unless everything is paid up. I don't understand how they could have possibly made a $10,000 mistake and have the audacity to ask us to pay again years later. With the way cashier's checks work, the money left our account as soon as the check was made. I'm not sure what to do since the venue is threatening legal action.
This does not seem like a problem for her. I don't know. Or
Yeah,
who's
not my
running
problem.
yeah, this is like not my problem. Like for me, I'd be like, you can do whatever you want to do. Like on your web portal says that we paid in full. It's a you problem. So you can figure that out. I'm sorry you did not cash that check, but that is not my fault.
Well, and like a cashier's check has to be made to a specific person, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure it does.
I have no idea. Honestly, I forget.
But like when you get one, it does get like, it's not like a normal check where they
Right.
have to cash it. It's like once you make a cashier's check, it's automatic. It's like pulling money out of your account. You know, it's just in check form. And once you give it to them, yeah, it's like, it's not my problem anymore. Like, how do you lose $10,000? Like almost flip it on them. Like, what are you guys doing? And then like they said, the audacity to come back 3 years later and be like, hey, we lost your check or whatever the case was. We need you to pay us again is just absurd.
Yeah, so were you not like doing your taxes for the past 3 years and you guys just finally realized this? Because yeah, that is not of my concern if you don't have your financials under control, because now you're realizing this 3 years later. You come to me a year later, like I might be like, not even a year later, maybe 6 months, let me know. We can look into it a little bit. 3 years, this is your issue. I'm not dealing with this. Go ahead and sue me.
Yeah.
I'll
And
sue
once
in
you start
court.
getting, yeah, right. I'll see you in court. Once you start getting into like the five digits of numbers, is that how you'd say it? Like the tens of thousands of dollars?
Yeah.
Once you start getting into the tens of thousands of dollars, like at this point, it's like, no, I'm going to really fight this, because if they were like, hey, it's $500 and we're threatening legal action, and you did get a letter from an actual lawyer, it's like, all right, am I going to, let this hassle continue on for $500, or am I just going to pay it? $10,000 though, like there's no chance I'm paying that just to make this go away. Like this is absurd.
Absolutely not. Yeah. Like you said, if it was a smaller amount, like I'd look into it a little bit, but 10K, I'm like, no, this is your problem. I'm not concerned about this literally in the least bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's jump into the next one. I haven't filed taxes in this is kind of related to the last one. Maybe they didn't file taxes either, but I haven't filed taxes in nearly 9 years. Now I want to get it done regardless of the repercussions. Yeah, I appreciate the accountability. I was at one time a severe alcoholic despite maintaining a career in hospitality management. I was a heavy drinker from 2016 until 2020 when I finally got my head back on straight. At which time I figured with COVID stimulus checks, eventually when I do file taxes, that'll offset my fees, right? 5 more years went by and I still haven't filed. I feel like getting this paid off and put behind me is the very last step towards unfucking my life. I'm incredibly scared of the repercussions and potential incarceration, but I finally have a good job and just want to make things right.
I mean, good on this person
Yeah.
for, like you said, the accountability is like the word of the day in this episode. And this person definitely has some, wants to take accountability for 9 years and
Yeah.
no one having reached out, no wages being garnished. Like,
Yeah.
that's like luck right there. I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it. Like 9 years of not giving the government their money and them not even saying anything to you is pretty wild.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, like, did they even have like, would they have even owed anything, or did they just have like a regular W-2 job and they happen to just be getting the exact amount taken out of their checks? Like that could be the case too. And this might not even be that bad of a situation, but 9 years to not even file, there's definitely going to be some penalties there. I don't know. What do you think they do? Where do they go from here?
Well, I was thinking, since 2016 and then it rolled into 2020. So like, yeah, you didn't pay for a few years, but then like all the COVID stuff happened. And I feel like there was a lot of things that, how people like couldn't get like evicted from their apartments and stuff. I would assume same thing with taxes. Like they probably couldn't take any money at that point. So it doesn't surprise me that they made it from 2016 until what, 20, if it's 9 years, is that what, 20,
Now,
this
yeah.
year? Yeah. Oh, so now, yeah. I mean, it doesn't necessarily surprise me, but I do love this. I love that they're actually coming forward. Like you said, I don't know how they got away with this for so long. Like, I feel like I would be afraid that someone would be knocking on my door, like
Right?
on April 16th when I didn't file. Like, I'm just scared like that. But apparently this doesn't happen. I don't know. I think like you said, like, it's good that they're coming forward now and like actually taking accountability. But you just have to go for it. Obviously you're not going to do this on your own. You're probably going to have to seek some type of tax professional to help you prepare the last 9 years. I don't even know where you find 9 years of information. I don't think I could find 2 years ago a pay stub that I had. You know what I mean? So I don't know what this looks like over the
That
past.
sounds pretty bad, Lauren.
Is that bad?
You don't have all your you got to keep 7 years of tax information on hand.
No, listen, we do have it somewhere. I have a safe. I just don't know what's in that safe, okay? And all of our tax information is like we put it in like the online system that we use and stuff too. So it's there, Nick. I promise.
Okay.
But yeah. Yeah, I feel like you're gonna need a professional and then just go from there. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what happens after this many years of not paying your taxes. Like,
Yeah, I
can you
mean,
go to jail? I don't know.
I don't think I think if you go to jail, the government's not getting their money. So they're
Yeah.
probably going to be like, all right, let's just put you on a payment plan. But
Yeah.
yeah, you definitely need to get like a CPA, someone who can actually handle all of this. Cause I imagine there's going to be a ton of forms that you have to
Yeah.
fill out just for this being like, you have to amend or not even amend, you have to submit late taxes for 9 years ago. Like, yeah, that's insane. I agree. I don't think I could find you tax information from 9 years ago, but I've been pretty good over the last few years of like taking pictures of every document, uploading it to my Google Drive. Like I have everything organized. This person's probably not like that though. So yeah, I think it's good on them though. And like they said, like this feels like the last step towards, unscrewing their life. I think that's a really big part because a lot of times if you just try to like bypass the consequences of living a way that you aren't happy with anymore, like you can never actually move on beyond that, versus if you can actually say, all right, I made this mistake and I just got to deal with the consequences. Like I do think that's what's actually going to help you say like almost like forgive yourself, almost forgive yourself so that you can actually move on.
Yeah, for sure. I just looked up on Google, can you go to jail for not paying your taxes? And it says, while prison sentences for unpaid taxes are rare, they are possible. So I
Hmm.
would also assume it's going to depend on how much money you owe. So say you're like, I don't know,
Fair.
a
Yeah.
millionaire who's, missing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars of tax money every single year. That might be a little different than this person because it sounds like when it says they were an alcoholic back then in hospitality management. I don't know what they were making back then. You know what I mean? It might have not have been a lot, but it says now they finally have a good job and want to make things right. So you don't really know what their numbers look like.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're making several hundreds of thousands of dollars, like there's bigger fish
Yeah.
to be fried that you're probably under the radar.
Yes.
But I'd imagine once you go and file this, like you'll probably owe some back taxes and then you'll probably owe interest on all those back taxes.
Yeah.
But if if you're making good money now, like you get on a payment plan, this could be something that's a really big issue in your head, but ends up being like a $500 per month payment for the next few years. You get it paid off, you're good to go. You move on with your life. You actually start building up your finances and building a future for yourself. But yeah, I think this is, I don't think enough people are like this. Like, I feel like if people could get out of their debt, like, scot free, they would. And, I'm not trying to say I don't know. I guess I am trying to say, like, to me, like it would morally, it would feel a little wrong to do that. But at the same time, like if you're in a struggle and like this could be your way out, like, cool. Okay. Like I get that. But at the same time, like, if those consequences were as a result of a life that you no longer want to be associated with anymore, like it's always going to be in the back of your head, and like you said, like I am also the kind of person who's like, part of why I don't want to do bad things is because I'm always going to be worried that those things are going to come back and bite me, and so it's the same situation here. Like this person's always going to have this in the back of their mind. Like, is my old life going to come for my new life?
Yeah.
And until they deal with it, like they're never going to get past it.
Yeah, for sure. Are taxes? I don't know this answer. Are taxes something that can affect like your credit score, or like what are the implications of just not paying your taxes for 9 years? You know what I mean? I don't know if this is a good question or not, but I'm just curious. Like if they've lived this long for 9 years, like what's really going to happen to them? you know?
Yeah, I don't think it can affect your credit score, but I think when you okay, I filled out an application for something, and this may have just been for my taxes, but it was like, do you owe back taxes from X number of years? And it was on some document, so like I know there's a place where you have to say if this is the case. But yeah, I mean, worst case, like you said, there's legal action that they could take against you, and then that's always also on your record. So you're better off just dealing with this now.
Let's move into the next one, which is honestly about like the exact opposite of what we just talked about. So this one says, I haven't paid my car loan in 6 years and no one has repoed it. I bought my car back in 2017. About 6 months later, I ended up losing my job and was living paycheck to paycheck. It wasn't until 2022 that I finally got back on my feet. Today, I was looking at my credit report and noticed the car loan was closed. I never received any calls or threats of repossession. Legally, I know I owe the money, but I'm dumb and don't really know what to do about it. Can I set up payments even after all these years? Do I need the title if I want to sell it? Will it eventually get repoed?
Yeah, this is I don't know, again, like I don't know how these things happen where you don't make payment. Like who are these people, and how lucky can you be
Yeah.
where you don't make payments for 6 years, your car doesn't get repoed? Like I see on Instagram all the time those videos of the guys who like they're in their repo tow truck,
Yep.
and they pull up all all sneaky in front of a car, and they just tow it, and the people
Yep.
are out there like screaming and yelling. And
Yes.
I get it, it's a shitty situation, but like
Yeah.
how does that not happen after 6 years?
Yeah. Unless like, I mean, I have no idea that because like you think you can hide from these people and you're right. They will find you anywhere.
Yeah.
They just go and get your car. I see people in those videos too trying to like get in their car and like start it and like try
Yeah.
to take it off the truck. And these drivers don't care. They just rip them away.
Nope.
But yeah, I don't. But that's a good point on their end. So it's closed on their credit report, which is like crazy. But they probably don't have the title to it. So I would assume that title is probably with the bank somewhere. But like it's probably like in the lost
Yeah.
cause little safe there or something. So when they do go to sell it and they need that title, this might reopen things up. I would assume. I don't know if they couldn't find them. I don't know. How do you?
Yeah.
I really don't know how this happens. Like I've never heard this situation before. You got extremely lucky, I would say.
Yeah, it's tough because like we were talking about in the last one, like your moral obligation I think is a big part of it. And like so like when we were talking about the wedding venue, it's like on the one hand, like if a business makes a mistake and that benefits you, like as long as you did what you were supposed to do, to me it's like that's not my problem anymore.
Yeah.
It's almost as if like I don't know if you've heard those stories where like people are like, oh, the my bank accidentally deposited $5,000 into my checking account. No one said anything. Like, what should I do about it?
Yeah.
And you always get mixed responses from those. Like people are like, no, like you should do something about it right away, or you're going to be in trouble for it. And I read a response to that kind of situation where they were like, look, if no one's saying anything and it's been several months, what I would do is I would take that money, put it in a high yield savings account, and wait for them to ask for it back. But at least you're gaining some interest off of that. And I feel like that's kind of like, yeah, that's probably as far as I'd go to like toe the line between, is this morally what I should be doing or not? But in this case, like, if you never sell it and it's just always just there, like, I don't know. And maybe you just like get rid of the car, like in a back channel kind of way. and then it's just gone out of your life. I don't know. Cause what are they going to do then? Repo a car that's not yours anymore?
Yeah. How do you get rid of it Nick, how do you get rid of a car in a back channel way? In the back alley?
Lauren,
Just
we
sell
can't
it.
talk about these things on YouTube.
Just sell it for cash. No title.
Yeah, you can sell it for cash. I bet like a scrapping company could come in and like they'd probably just take it from you and just
Good point.
scrap it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, you just move on with your life and never figure it out. But or like I don't know how it would work either. If you tried to like trade it in and then the car dealership helps you get it, and then you're like, sorry. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't be trying to do this, but I mean, realistically, if this person wanted to try to like reopen their case or whatever, like they're probably gonna have to go to their original. Would it be still with the original lender, or probably somebody that like a
Probably
collection?
not.
Yeah, but where's that title? You know what I mean? Like, who
Yeah.
owns this car now? You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be somewhere. I don't know, unless they just request a new one. But I don't know where that would be coming from, like their state, and then they just, I don't know, maybe they've just completely skirted this by. If it's closed on their credit report, like maybe they just like keep the car forever, and it's
Yeah.
a good luck charm. I don't know.
I feel a good luck charm. I feel like I have less sympathy for like quote unquote doing the right thing in this situation, because like
Yeah.
they totally just dropped the ball on your payment, and it's like you kind of just got lucky. Like don't ever sell the car, and if you ever want to get rid of it, just sell it to a scrapyard or something. Like
Yeah.
and in that or like pass it down to family and just kind of. I don't know. Like, what do you do at that point? Can you even like get insurance on it? Yeah, you could get insurance on
Yeah.
it. Like,
Yeah.
all they need is your driver's license and the plate.
Yeah, you're right, Nick. I'm probably just gonna keep this thing till the wheels fall off, scrap it, move on with my life. But no, I will never do that again in the future. This person's gonna do better. I know it. For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
I think the big takeaway from this episode, one, is accountability, but also if other people have dropped the ball, what are you going to do about it? I don't know if there's anything to be done. So, Lauren, do you have anything else to add?
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. So that wraps up today's episode. And one simple ask, as always, if you enjoyed this episode, we try to do things a little bit differently. Best way you can support us is by clicking that subscribe button and sharing this with a friend.
Yeah, and if you want to have your money question answered on the show, just visit our website, justanothermoneypodcast.com, and click the submit a question button. And don't forget to join us for another episode of Just Another Money Podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations provided on this podcast are for entertainment purposes only and do not constitute professional financial advice. Any financial decisions you make based on the content of this podcast are your responsibility. We strongly recommend consulting with a licensed financial advisor or other qualified professional before making any significant financial decisions. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that we are not liable for any financial outcomes.